So I'll be glad to introduce the expert, and he is logging in. For this month, we are very honored to have with us Greg Zakowicz, Senior E-commerce Expert at Omnisend. And with over 15 years of experience in email, mobile, and social media marketing, Greg has helped over 100 DTC companies worldwide. And for anyone that is interested in Omnisend solutions, I'm putting a link to their website in the comment box down below. It's the night and everyone is probably laying down and taking a rest after a long day of work. So, Greg, I'm just wondering, how are you right now over there?
I'm doing great. It's the best night of the week tonight, minus Friday, of course, but best night of the week tonight. So I'm very happy to be here. I'm very excited to talk to everyone who's listening today and give them some great advice.
Okay, so thank you and welcome to the webinar today. I'm sure the audience is very much looking forward to what you are going to share with us today. And we all want to make sure that each one of them will be left with something that they can implement on their business journey. So let's wait no longer. I'll hand over the stage to you, Greg.
Thank you so much, Hazel. And thanks everyone for taking your time today. I know it's late for some of you, so I'm going to make your time as valuable as possible by talking about two of my favorite topics and how they intersect. And that's marketing trends and strategies to maximize sales through those marketing channels. So that's the best part today. Very quickly, I know Hazel mentioned she's going to have the link to Omnisend in the chat box, which is great. I'm going to direct you over there a couple times just with some things I'm going to show you today. But very quickly to set the stage, because I think it's important to see the perspective I am coming from with who Omnisend is. So we are an email and SMS marketing automation platform, but we're built specifically for D2C brands or e-commerce merchants. So you can see the perspective I'm coming from is from a D2C side today. And of course, we integrate because we're a D2C e-commerce focused platform with your major e-com platforms, so Shopify, Shopify Plus, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, and the like as well. So when we talk about email marketing, increasing those sales, we're going to look at a couple things today. And marketing automation is something that's been around for 15 or longer, or more years here. And when we talk about email marketing automation, we keep hearing year over year that, hey, brands should be doing this. And the question I always brands it is, are you deploying the right email marketing automations? And if you weren't, would you even know? And then the other question is, well, if you do have automations going, are you actually maximizing the potential of those to drive and increase your sales? So with the rising cost of paid ads and paid search, and then what we see is a lowering return on those channels as well. Thanks, Apple. Email has been pretty consistent over time. We're not usually seeing those price spikes in email like we are in those other channels. So it might be more important than ever where your ROI is going down those other channels to really hone in and maximize the sales and the profits on your email marketing side. The good news, it's all possible, and it is all possible even with a low slimmed down team. So my experience being an email practitioner and then working with a lot of brands, both from startups to really large brands, there's very few people doing the email marketing at all those companies, even the big ones. So we've got to make sure we maximize our time in an efficient manner, with regardless of how big or small your actual team is. So today, I'm going to show you actionable tips on how you can actually do that from the second when you disconnect from this webinar, and then as you move forward throughout the year as well. So very quickly, what I'm going to touch on today, some of the biggest takeaways from email and SMS marketing trends and really understanding where we are at currently and where we're moving with them, and then how to apply our lessons learned to our current channels. We're going to talk about actionable tips and tricks for engagement, retention, and across the board. And of course, ways to maximize our sales through that. So when we're looking at trends, how are we identifying trends? Well, some of it is speaking to the D2C brands, but also we are a platform that sends a lot of email and a lot of SMS and a lot of web push messages and sync to a lot of paid channels like Google and Facebook ad properties. So we put out these yearly and these quarterly reports, periodic reports around Black Friday, things like this. So a lot of the data we're going to be looking at today is data from last year, where we sent over 12 billion marketing emails, 63 million SMS, 54 million web push messages, and compare those to the previous years as well, and see how they're trending, how brands are using those, and really where we're getting the most revenue and the most orders from those specific tactics are. So the biggest trends, these are, by the way, these reports are ungated. Just follow that link in the chat box. go to the resources section. We're not asking for any information, so you can just read them at your will. There's a lot of Black Friday stuff in there as well. So feel free to read that outside if you want a little more deeper dive into what some of this is. Now, the biggest trends we are looking at is behavior-based automation. This is the biggest one. And again, I mentioned before that automation's been around for years. So last year, 30% of all email marketing orders came from automated messages, but those messages only accounted for 2% of those 12 billion marketing emails. So you think about this, we're driving 30% of our email orders on 2% of our sends. We talk about, are you using the marketing automation to your advantage? This is one way to do so. And the engagement with these messages are hot. So a third of people who click on those automated messages go on to make a purchase. The number drops to 7% when you're talking about just your standard scheduled promotional messages that you send on any Tuesday or Thursday of the week. The other trend, SMS sends, conversion rates, orders, they're all increasing year over year, especially in relation to automation as well. And the days of having to silo your email and SMS and your other channels are gone. We can merge those together. I'm going to show you that in a minute, but SMS is hot, especially within the automation realm. And I'm not really going to touch on push messaging during the program today. You can certainly read about that on our stats report if you want, but with 54 million web push messages sent last year and 700% more in the automation side, this is a channel you might want to explore, at least look into a little bit. But again, we're seeing that massive lift in automation. So what brands are doing is they're saying, okay, email automation is working for us. Let's throw SMS in there. Hey, wow, SMS automation is working for us. Let's throw this push messaging in there. And they're finding push messaging is working the automation as well. So we'll talk about that just a little bit as well, especially those first two. But we're seeing automation increase across all channels. So if we know automation is the key for engagement, SMS is hot. The question then becomes, how do we maximize these two and make them work together? I'm going to spend the rest of the presentation talking about just that. And we're going to start off with SMS marketing. So you're going to hear all the time, think about the customer journey, follow the customer journey, enhance the customer journey. Well, what does that mean? It just means how people are interacting with your brand and with other brands. And SMS is one of those ways people interact now. So this is a channel that consumers are increasingly adopting. Brands are following suit and increasingly deploying. But here's the thing, they have high engagement. There's a lot of revenue potential, and there's revenue potential just not as a standalone channel, but also how they help email drive more sales as well. So I mentioned the increase in sends in SMS. So last year, 94% year over year increase in SMS marketing sends. This follows a year that was almost 400% more than the year before. So we're talking about nearly a 400% increase, and another almost 100% increase year over year. But if you look at the increase last year as well, of course, there's more campaign sends than automated messages, but automations took a spike. We see almost, close to 260% more SMS automation sent last year. Question then becomes why? Well, it's because everyone texts, right? It's no longer a generational cohort conversation here. So it's not Gen Zs and it's not just millennials who text. I'm a Gen Xer. I'm texting. I get marketing texts all day long. And even baby boomers are texting. So about 8 months ago, I'm visiting my folks who live out of town, and it's just a lazy day, and I'm on the couch and my mother's phone is making these loud noises every time something happens with her phone, because that's what people do, right? It's these loud noises. And then she starts reading her text messages out loud, because apparently that's what my mom does as a baby boomer. I love you, baby boomers, but come on. And she, you know what? She's reading text messages from brands. And I kind of perked up. I was like a dog with my ears perked up. And I said, and I just kind of took note of this. And she's getting message after message and she's reading them out loud, saying, yeah, even baby boomers are texting from brands as well. So everyone texts. Ignore the generational cohort conversation. Some generational cohorts might respond better, but they're all doing it. And this is where you need to follow. The other thing to look at is it is an opt-in channel, very much like email is. People sign up to get emails. Those are the people who are receiving your communications. SMS is no different, right? You're not just going to send it to everyone. So if you add SMS to your sign-up boxes, or you start collecting mobile numbers for an SMS program, only people who are saying, yes, that's a channel I want to interact with, are going to get those messages. These are two really important points you should take home and consider whether you have an SMS or you're contemplating having some sort of SMS program. Now, here's the other value to SMS as well. It does some things that email marketing either works with it or does some things that it really can't do that well. So time-sensitive messages, certainly one of these. So I can check an email 1 minute after you send it to me, an hour, 24 hours, 3 days after. You don't really know when. Study after study will show you that SMS messages are read within seconds to minutes, 3 minutes or less, majority of people from when you send an SMS, which means it's time sensitive. You can do flash sales. You could do SMS only flash sales as well, right? These time sensitive reminders, Black Friday, Cyber Mondays, heavy days where you have offers expiring, these last chance reminders can go out. Those same days where it's really busy, you can use SMS to drive people toward your emails. So we know we're sending an email on Black Friday, or probably a couple of them. You can use an SMS and be, hey, check out our email for all the latest and greatest deals, because we have 160 characters with SMS. Emails that can be much longer, a lot more information, a lot more graphic heavy. So we can drive people to our email program as well. Of course, exclusivity, automations like shipping and return confirmations. And here's the thing that no one ever talks about. It's an opt-in channel, but we always fret about email unsubscribes. What happens when we have someone who signed up for an email program, signed up for an SMS, and we're comparing that data, and that person realizes that, yeah, email is not my jam anymore. At least it's not my jam from your brand, but they stay signed up for your SMS program. Previously, you would take those email unsubscribes and you would create a lookalike audience on Facebook or Instagram or Google search properties, right? And you want to retarget them that way versus sending them an SMS, and we still have that data. So we can use that to help lower our retargeting costs as well. So SMS has a lot of potential, not only to work as a standalone channel, but to also really complement email. And I'm going to show you more ways to complement email in the next few minutes as well. Now, very quickly, what can SMS actually do for you? Well, it can do a lot, right? It's all about testing and using and figuring out if it's going to work really well for your brand and how you want to tip your toe into the water. So here's a brand called Divatress. They sell wigs and things like this. So generally a younger generational cohort, target demo. The owner was initially hesitant with the SMS side, but said, you know what? I've got a sign up box. I'm going to throw the number on there and I'm going to let my audience tell me whether they want to get SMS from me. And if no one signs up, it's your cue that maybe you don't have the right fit for it. If they do sign up, it's your cue that maybe you do have the right fit for it. You can see the metrics here in 8 months, 70,000 subscribers, over 100,000 in extra sales. But here's the thing, 13,000 of those subscribers without email. So that's 13,000 people that the brand likely did some sort of paid acquisition for to get them to the website, likely with the hopes of getting an email address or getting a conversion at that point so they can keep the marketing going at a lower cost. And had they offered only email, they would have missed out on 13,000 opt-in communication contacts here. And SMS now makes up 7% of their marketing revenue. So this is a huge number for them. So it just shows you the potential simply by asking for a mobile number, what the power can be there. All right, so that's SMS. That's my spiel there. We'll get back into it. I'm happy to take any questions in the Q&A section or offline on SMS if you want to. But I want to shift gears a little bit now to the email side of things. And we talked about automation here and how impactful automation can be. And if you're looking to increase sales, even just a little bit and start ticking it up from there, automations where I would advise you, and I used to advise all my clients to really sink into, because it's going to run and it's going to make money when you're sleeping. And that's where you can slowly iterate and just automate these things on. Here's how I look at automation. I've looked at like this for a few years ago, but I really look at it as the new segmentation. And let me explain what this means here. So why do brands segment? Well, they segment because they want to send you the most relevant message possible, right? Nothing wrong with segmentation. I think it's a great strategy. The problem with segmentation is that, you know, it's not necessarily scalable. I talked about brands that have 1 or 2 people running an email marketing program, and they're also doing other things. They're probably doing social media or paid search and, you know, these other paid acquisition channels that they have a lot on their plate. They don't have time. So let's say you send 4 marketing emails a week and you have 4 segments you want to target. Well, now you need to come up with 16 emails a week, and you need to create 16 emails, and you need to schedule and report on 16 emails. So what often happens is brands start on this trajectory and then they kind of fade off because it's not scalable. Something comes up, you want to take a vacation, you get busy, Black Friday and the holidays roll around, and it becomes harder to segment on a consistent basis. So if you can do that, great. If you can't do it, this is where automation fits in. So, and here's the other thing, automation is behavior-based, right? So it's only going to send to someone who is taking some sort of action with your brand, which means the message is naturally going to be relevant to the subscriber, which is the idea of segmentation. But the difference is segmentation does not focus on intent as much as automation does. And what I mean by that is intent to purchase. So sure, we can create a segment of people who purchased sweaters in the past, we have a new sweater drop or the new lines coming out, the new season, we're going to send them an email. And that's great. It's going to be a relevant message. We know they like sweaters. It doesn't tell you anything about their intention to buy a new sweater, whether in the market for it. On the other hand, if the user is taking an action like checking out sweaters on our website, or signing up and clicking on the sweaters link in our messages, or abandoning a sweater in their shopping cart, we can automate these messages out, but we can focus them and change the content of these messages to focus on the intent of the subscriber to purchase. And this is the biggest thing. So we're going to focus on intent. And I want you to do this with not only automated messages, but all the way through every message of your email program. So automation, how impactful can it really be? I don't need you to study this graph here on the left, the chart, but what we're looking at here is that very top line are your promotional campaigns. These are your scheduled messages you're going to send every day of the week. You can see the conversion rate there. Below that are all the automated messages conversion rates. So you don't need to be a rocket scientist to say the bottom ones are much bigger than the top ones. And that's because they're behavior-based. It's because they're relevant and they're intent-based messages. So again, 30% of all email marketing orders on 2% of sends, pretty good ballpark to be in. I'd say if you're anywhere between 20 to 40%, around 5% of your sends or less, you're in a really good place to be increasing sales. If you're not quite there, you don't know what those numbers are, see if you can calculate those a little bit, but those are pretty good numbers. However, we look at this chart and we say, well, great, there's all these messages. And you said, I can make this and start doing these programs all by myself because it's just me as a marketer. Yes, and here's where to start. Now, all automation is great. It performs better than campaigns, but not all automation is created equal. And here's what I mean by this. So that 30% of automated email orders, 83% of that 30% came from 3 automated series messages. And that's your welcome series, your browse abandonment, and your cart abandonment. These are the 3 I'm going to focus on today and give you some tips on how to optimize these. If you don't have them sending yet, how to start sending them and things to think about with these. So these are high intent messages. The goal is to create value out of these messages and capitalize upon the intent to help drive revenue. And we're going to talk about welcome series, browse abandonment, and cart abandonment. And we're going to start with welcome series messages. So for those that may not know what a welcome series is, or maybe call it something else, welcome series is just a series of messages that send to brand new email subscribers. So Greg goes to your website, I get the pop-up, would you like to join our email list? I plug in my email address and I click submit and I get these welcome messages. And the challenge for most brands with welcome messages is they Google welcome message best practices and they kind of create and apply those best practices. I'm going to sit here and tell you those best practices that you're deploying are likely outdated because they are not intent focused. So I'll maybe give you an example. A traditional welcome series will tell you, hey, in the welcome message, tell your brand story, tell your founding story, do all these things to really get them, get them feeling connected to your brand. The next message is a managed preference message because we want to collect segmentation information from them, which brands never use in the welcome series. They do it for later and then they never segment. But and then the third one's a social media invite message. Well, here's the thing. People didn't sign up for your email program because they want to know more about your brand story. They can get that from the website. They didn't sign up because they want to fill out forms about their interests. They want to shop. You're interrupting their experience. And they certainly didn't sign up for your email program because they couldn't find you on social media. Those things are done. So what we want to do with our welcome series is focus on the intent. And then we want to optimize the series to narrow that intent down, even when we might not know exactly what it is, to help deliver a more personalized experience. The intent of someone signing up for your email program is much more likely the intent is to purchase something, whether from you or from someone else. They're in a shopping mindset than to just be browsing. So here's how we can start to cater to the intent. And this really applies to all messages that we'll talk about today, including your promotional scheduled messages. Focus on the intent, however. And we could do this by talking about value adds, like about return policies or satisfaction guarantees, product quality or fit. These are things that a new shopper, someone who is maybe unfamiliar with your brand, would need to know or would like to know before making that decision. Use some social proof in here, and this could be featuring top-rated or customer favorite products. It could be showcasing customer testimonials from reviews, not only from products, but also about the brand. Hey, doing business with XYZ was the most comfortable shirt I've ever worn, and the customer service is great. These are things that build consumer confidence in customers. And of course, we can add channels, right? We talked about SMS or push notifications, whatever it might be. We can integrate these into the exact same workflow so that regardless of what channel you're opted in for, we can deliver that custom experience here. The whole goal of these messages, build consumer confidence with the customer here to drive them toward a purchase. So if we optimize the initial welcome message, the one that may or may not have an incentive, and either way is fine for you. If we add these things in there, the return policies, the satisfaction guarantees, the customer service things, the social proof, we'll have a pretty good looking message. The next step is then to take it a step further and customize this series. And this is, we're going to do one message at a time, but think about what an email tells you. What's more intent driven in an email than the action the user takes? And what action they take, and they're clicking on something. So think about this. We can use a workflow split to say, okay, we're going to make our welcome series as best possible. We're going to give it the best consumer experience possible. So I'm going to get a welcome message. It's the same message you're going to send to every customer, regardless of whether we're male, female, kids, whatever we're shopping for. All right. We're all going to get the same message, but it's going to be optimized with those value adds and social proof here. Now we're going to monitor and say, okay, what did they click on in that first email? Because whatever they click on, we can then split off and deliver a unique customer welcome onboarding experience to those people. So let me give an example of what this could look like. Let's say I'm a jewelry, online jewelry store, and I sell earrings and engagement rings on top of other things, maybe watches, whatever it might be. Well, if you have one person that clicks on earrings and another clicks on engagement rings, they're shopping for very different things. They need very different pieces of information to make a decision. So sure, some of the satisfaction guarantees will work wonders, but what does the engagement ring person need to know? They need to know about diamond cut, clarity, maybe how to secretly get a ring size. Maybe they need to know return policies, just a planning what if, just saying, right? These are things that they need to know. But the earring person, who's someone shopping for the earrings, what do they need to know? Are they shopping for themselves? Are they shopping for a significant other? Are they shopping for a special occasion, for every day? Right? These are ways we can do this. So think about your own brand. It could be men's versus women's versus kids. It could be beds versus sofas versus accessories. It could really be anything. But think about how we can take clicks in your welcome message, split those people off and drive them down. And we don't, again, this can go, we talk about adding top customer favorites or top rated products to your emails. Well, if we can add top rated or customer favorite earrings, customer favorite watches, customer favorite, kids shoes, whatever it might be, we can build that customer intent, build consumer confidence, and drive into point of purchase as well. So we do this by ditching old best practices and applying new customer focused ones that cater to intent. So again, we could do this one message at a time. We can start splitting things off. You build one, iterate it slightly, copy, rinse, repeat, and watch your sales and engagement skyrocket. All right, number 2, cart abandonment. Cart abandonment, this is probably the most profitable message you're going to send out of your email program because they've already selected the products they want to buy. You don't have to split things off necessarily for them based on what they're clicking on. But there's a lot of customer intent with this, but there's a lot of customer data with this as well, where the shoppers might be very, very different, or you want to deliver something to maximize your profits a little bit more. So here's 2 data pieces you can use separate or together to help deliver a better customer experience and increase your conversions. And that's really the cart total and the purchase history of the shopper themselves. So let's think about this here. So cart total, what can this tell you? Well, think about it. If you have let's say you have a free shipping threshold on your website of $35, and you have one cart that's 20 and another that's 200, and they both abandon. If the reason they abandon their shopping cart's likely the same, probably not, right? So here's where we can split that off and say, okay, we're under our threshold. Let's deliver a different set of messages to them. So maybe we're going to offer an incentive, but we're going to put a $50 minimum spend so we make sure they get over that, plus the discount, plus they'll qualify for free shipping. It's a win-win, but we also know that they'll probably get over $50, so we'll maximize our profits a little bit more there. The person over $200, they don't need to be touted that free shipping, shipping is always free, or you qualified for free shipping. Shipping is not the reason they abandon that shopping cart. A lot harder to depart or to separate with $200 than it is $20, right? So maybe they need to know about your return policies. Maybe they need to know about satisfaction guarantees or how your products fit or the quality of your products, or overcome those obstacles to conversion with your messaging is what you ultimately want to do here. So if we split that based on cart total, We can have as many tiers as we want to, but we can deliver more customized messaging to these people. Again, focus on those value adds and focus on what might matter to those individual shoppers. And the same thing really applies to purchase history here. Is it someone who's never shopped with us? Are they a one-time shopper? Are they a loyal shopper of ours? Because this might change everything as well. Loyal shopper, do we really need to send them 3 messages and 2 SMS to get them to convert? Maybe not. Maybe it's 1 email, 1 SMS as a reminder, because we know they already shop with us. They like us. We don't need to promote all those things. Brand new shopper, well, we've likely done paid acquisition channels to get them there. We've got an investment in these people. What do we want to do? Maybe we do want to send them 3 different messages and an SMS or 2 as a reminder if they've opted in that channel. But also maybe we want to discount a little bit differently, knowing that we've spent money. Maybe we want to continue to spend money to try to get them to convert. So hopefully get them to convert again. And then again, that one time returning customer coming in to make their second purchase, that's where brands are starting to see the profit out of an actual customer. So maybe we don't need 3 messages. Maybe we just need 2. Maybe we need a different structure of incentive to get them to convert. Or maybe we don't need an incentive because we know they've purchased before. Now we just need to hone in on our value adds a little bit more. So think about all the ways we can really separate our messaging based on these simple pieces of data we have and how we can add channels to these. And it can change everything from the value adds promote, the number of messages, the timing of your messages, to even the discounts, right? So if it's $100, but we know we can get them over 125, maybe we put a 125 minimum spend on that discount, whatever it might be. So we can really customize these based on the customer journey, and just think to yourself, what are my customers like at this point? And again, these things this is small revenue lift over everything else. So here's a customer, they're a big commerce customer here, but they had a shopping cart abandonment plan going before. And then they said, oh, we can add channels, we can do these splits. Let's play around with this. Let's have some fun. You can see here, 15% increase of recovered revenue rate over what they were previously doing before. So if you think about the trickle down effect of this, they were able to raise their email marketing sales or SMS marketing sales by optimizing this channel in an automated fashion. But every purchase that it's made now helps reduce those retargeting costs. So they abandon, I don't need to pay to retarget them on Instagram or Facebook or in paid search because I've recaptured them by sending an email that cost me a penny. So here's, we increase the conversions here, we decrease those retargeting costs later, and that's where the profit's going to come in as well. And then finally, browse abandonment. I'm going to advise you to take all the advice I just gave you about optimizing your messages, following the customer journey, following that intent, and just apply it to browse abandonment. So for those that maybe are unfamiliar with what browse abandonment are or is, it's late for me, so I apologize. My voice is going out on me, but browse abandonment, that is when a consumer is on your website, they're checking out a specific category or specific products, and they leave without actually carting a product. So we've captured them. We know they're checking stuff out on our website and we capture that, but then they leave. Same thing. It's in most companies, right? It's online window shoppers. Most people on your website are going to leave without carting products, nature of the beast. But here's where we can automate messaging out to them as well. So you can think about all the ways you could do this. You could focus on high volume products. You could focus on seasonal products. The holidays are coming up here. So think about just setting up a program for those seasonal sellers. And these things can be product or they could be category specific. So you think about sweaters before. Hey, they were reviewing a sweater on my website. Let's automate messaging out to our sweaters. And we're just going to add those other things, social proof, value adds. I think product abandonment is a great place to use customer testimonials or product testimonials as well. And this is a brand from Carrots. These messages, 630% lift in revenue per email over their scheduled promotional messages. And this series of messages makes up 14% of their automated email revenue. So really impactful for them just to kind of keep people coming back. So checking out sweaters, I leave, there's some sort of intent with me. Something in my life's got me checking out sweaters. I get a nice email that is just super timely, super relevant to me via whatever channel I opt into. And the goal is to drive them back to the website and hopefully convert from there. But again, just like cart abandonment, we can use some of that data as well. So this is where purchase history data really comes in along with channels. So checking out sweaters, never purchased from me before. Think about how we might want to target them, give them a series. Made one purchase, coming back for my second, got some of this. Maybe I cut that series down, add SMS in there. If I'm a loyal customer, maybe it's just a friendly reminder or just a friendly reminder SMS. Get me coming back. Hey, don't forget about these top rated sweaters. Love to get you back here. And then we can customize again. One single piece of data that we can use to enhance that customer journey and increase profits at that point. So these are all, I know there's a lot of information here. These are all things that might seem overwhelming, but it's really just one simple thing at a time, and just figure out what you want to attack. But these are the 3 series where you're going to generate the most amount of your email marketing sales. And these are the ones that, even if you optimize one small thing in your message, 1 week, 52 optimizations a year, and you are going to be sitting pretty. So the whole goal is to bring it all together, make it work together, and make your program feed off each other. We talk about every sale here reduces retargeting costs, and that's the goal. We want a holistic marketing program. So here's a company called Figpin, just to give you some inspiration. Now, as a one-woman email marketing crew, her name is Allison. I call her a one-woman wrecking crew here. So they had to pivot online. They were brick and mortar heavy going into the pandemic. She had to really launch the email program for him. And she heard a bloke like me going, oh, this guy keeps talking about welcome series and abandoned carts and browse abandonment messages. Let me go ahead and start creating these. And, we create templates in Omnisend. So all you have to do is hit activate or copy, and you've got a workflow set up for you. And then you just got to build the messages here. So she just started working one at a time, automates it, sends it while she's working on the next message. These messages now make up 24% of their email revenue from automated messages. They did it by just one message at a time. So, ultimately what you want to do is really focus on those opt-in marketing channels, because the costs don't accelerate like they do outside of emails. We talk about paid ads, paid search, things like that, where the cost and effectiveness are always waxing and waning. Opt-in channels a little bit different. So start collecting those multiple numbers now, especially if you're not ready to launch an SMS marketing program. And you might not be, or you might not ever want to launch a full program. If you collect them now, one, it'll give you an indication about whether your audience wants SMS. And 2, you can always use SMS only in your automated workflows and not really have a full dedicated SMS marketing program. But again, it's opt-in channels and everyone's texting. So it makes sense to just ask for it, start collecting it, and then use it when you're ready and how you want to use it. And that's ultimately up to your brand here. Think about automation as an essential part of your email marketing program. It can improve the customer experience. It can improve customer retention. It caters to intent. It is the new form of segmentation, in my opinion, but it works while you sleep. That's the beauty of it. Consider where customers are. Follow that customer journey. Are they purchasing the most within the automation from birthday messages or lapsed purchase messages? No, those are fine messages to have. Automate them if you can. Focus on those 3 we talked about today: welcome, shopping cart abandonment, and browse abandonment. And ultimately, start simple. One message at a time, one optimization. Get it sending. It's automated, so you can optimize it and come back to it, optimize it and come back to it later. And then just iterate and follow the customer journey there, and always question best practices. Sometimes they're a great starting point. Sometimes they're a great end point, as long as they focus on customer intent there. So here's my call out to you. We have 70,000 e-commerce brands trust us to help them grow their business every day. Here's my contact information at the bottom of the screen here. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me, anyone on my team. Follow the link in the chat there. And that's all I got for you today. I hope to hear from you, but we do have Q&A, so I'm going to stick around for that. Hopefully I can answer some questions for you there as well.
I'm tuning back in, so there could be some latecomers in the session. So if possible, please leave your emails down and we'll forward out the presentation from Greg. So thank you, Greg, for covering some great insights today on email marketing sales. And again, we will also put the live streams video on YouTube and Facebook in the next few days. So just don't worry in case you missed any important information. And with that said, we are going to open it up to Q&A and have a more productive conversation today with work. So there are a few questions I saw in the comments, and I'm just gonna read it out loud, and Greg is going to answer all of them for you. So the first question is, with browse abandonment messages, should we be concerned about sending too many messages to people?
Short answer is no. And I'll give you an explanation around there. So it's a really good question. It's one, every time I would bring it up to my old customers, I get that question from almost every single one of them. So it's a great question. My voice is going out, so I apologize. I hope I can struggle through this. But the question I would always frame to them, I'm going to answer a question with a question, is, are you going to send them an email anyways? And usually they pause for a second, they think about it, they say, well, yes, I am. And my answer is, well, wouldn't you rather that message be something timely and relevant to them versus a patch and blast message? And they go, yeah, I guess so. So again, these are behavior-based messages. So if we know they're browsing sweaters, they're browsing pajamas, they're browsing whatever, you can see what I'm generally into here. Browsing baseball caps. We know we can automate those messages to them. They don't have to go 2 seconds after they leave the website, right? We can have them send a couple hours or 12 hours or a day later. But all they know is it's a timely, relevant message. Now, you'll see two different strategies with browse abandonment as well. You'll probably get some that you notice like, hey, Greg, we saw you checking out XYZ. And some just look generic. They just look like a message you might send any old Tuesday or Thursday of the week. They're still automated. They're based on behavior, but they're just two different strategies to it, two different tactics, right? Either calling it out or just being a subtle reminder. They both work. I think go with whatever your brand personality is or whatever you're comfortable with. But I'd much rather send a relevant automated behavior-based message versus a batch and blast or even slightly segmented message. So that's my answer to. I wouldn't be worried about it. If you're sending those messages, though, as like every message, if you see the unsubscribe rate is super high with those compared to everything else, maybe dial it down, maybe have a suppression segment for people for your promotional messages that are in this workflow, whatever. But that's your cue. But otherwise, I wouldn't worry about it. Study after study will tell you customers, it's not the volume of email they get, it's the volume of non-relevant email they get, which is the major hiccup for them. So if you send it, you'll be fine with it. And if you're wrong, you can yell at me.
Okay, so all right. So the next questions, it's you say not to settle for best practices. So how do we know which ones to ignore and which ones we should follow?
Great question. So there is no right or wrong necessarily with these. I kind of skipped over it right at the end there, but really think about intent-based marketing with everything you do versus brand or product-based marketing. So if the best practice, think through your own customer journey, right? Let's use that welcome example as experience, like managed preference messages. I hate getting those. I did not sign up for an email so I could fill out a form, right? I could fill out a form anywhere. So just think to yourself, okay, we're going to do this. Is this what I would like to get if I'm a customer signing up for a brand? If the answer is no, you're probably on the wrong track. If the answer is yes or maybe, you're probably on the right track and need to get through it. So a simple rule, does the best practice relate to the customer intent for whatever message you're sending? Birthday message, well, what's the intent there? Well, some of it might be to shop. Some of it just might be brand affinity, right? If the intent fits with the best practice and the purpose of that message, then you're okay. If the intent and the purpose of the message are in two different spectrums, gotta find the middle a little bit there. But that's going to be your ultimate role. Focus on the customer intent.
Okay, so time is running out, so we'll give it another go to the last questions. With respect to getting started with SMS, what's the best way to explore using it if I'm not sure it's something I'll either have success with or will want to continue with?
Yeah, another really good question. So good crew today. So I appreciate all the questions and the time. Again, something I kind of glanced over at the very end there. It's always the struggle because people don't want to collect information just to collect information, right? We talk about managed preference forms with SMS, right? People feel it's very intimate of a channel because it's a very personal piece of information. So a lot of people are hesitant to ask for it there. I necessarily wouldn't be. So here's where I would not be, and then here's where I would start with it. So I wouldn't be, again, it's an opt-in channel. If they don't want to give it to you, they don't have to give it to you. That's usually the starting point there. So that'll be your cue to whether people want to get them. On the flip side, where do you start using them? If you're not ready to just send mass SMS messages for like you would a promotional message on a Tuesday, right? If you're not ready to do that, nothing wrong with it. So where you could start is think about those automations you currently have or the automations you're working on, high intent ones, and just put one SMS into those flows. And it'll recognize people that are signed up for the program or not signed up, and only those signed up will get it and they'll skip the rest. But you think about, okay, if I'm sending an SMS for a welcome series or a cart abandonment and it's converting for me, that's your small indication that, yeah, one, people want it because they're signing up. Two, it's actually working to drive some revenue here. So that's an easy place to start because it's going to be a lower volume of messages sent because it's automation, right? It's not going to be 1,000 a day. Well, it could be if you're really busy, but you're going to get, these are individual sends versus list or segment sends. So they're going to be going one off. You can always pull them out at any time, but that's a very easy way to start into it. Then if you really want to get into it and say, okay, we're going to send one or two, and then we're just going to see how it goes, holidays are coming up. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, these are days that high volume email send days, hard to break through to people's attention. They're pretty high volume SMS days as well. But if you want to just go with it, send one on a Black Friday and see how it performs for you. And those are your two good indications of a good place to start. And then you can just dial it up and dial it back based on however those metrics come back.
Okay, that's awesome. And thank you for your comprehensive answers. So that just brings us to the conclusion of our webinar today. I believe that the sharing from Greg will definitely be some best takeaways for merchants and marketers as well. And to the audience, thank you so much for your engagement questions. Unfortunately, we cannot answer all of them, but don't worry, we'll get back to you and respond as soon as possible. So you can still send in your questions even after the live stream ends. Again, we are all learning as we go along. And I'd like to sincerely thank Greg and Omnisend for attending today. I very much encourage everybody to go on Omnisend's website and take a look at their incredible marketing automation journey. Okay, Greg. So is there any last message you want to give to our audience before this session?
Just two quick things. One, thank you for the invite and the opportunity to do this. So I appreciate it. Make sure everyone listening today interacts with everything that you guys have to offer. Otherwise, I'll yell at them. So thank you again for the invite. And then two, my contact information is on the screen there. I'm an open book. So if anyone wants to reach out, you can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, or whatever you want to do. And I'm around for questions. So feel free to reach out, even if it's just to say hi.
Okay, great. So I would like to thank you all for spending time out of your busy day and just stay until the end. So thank you, Greg, for taking the time to present very fascinating insights on maximizing email marketing sales. So we look forward to seeing you all in the next webinar. Goodbye.